6 brand-new F-35 stealth fighters were delivered to the United States Marine Corps with no radar installed. In its place, a block of ballast bolted into the nose where a multi-million-dollar sensor is supposed to go. We know this because the man who runs the entire F-35 program admitted it, under oath, in front of a Senate subcommittee. And that wasn't even the worst of it. The same month, the Government Accountability Office reported that across the whole fleet, only about 1 in 4 F-35s is fully ready to fight. This is the story of how the most expensive weapons program in history got here and why the truth is more complicated and more interesting than the headlines. It started on June 23, 2026. Senator Mark Kelly, a former Navy combat pilot, asked Lieutenant General Gregory Masiello, the head of the F-35 Joint Program Office, whether the rumor was true. He didn't dodge it. "We have accepted 6 aircraft for the Marine Corps," he said, "that do not have a radar installed." And when Kelly asked whether jets like that could be counted as combat ready, the general agreed. He wouldn't call them fully mission capable. To understand why that's so strange, you have to understand what the radar does. The F-35's radar on today's jets, the APG-85, is its primary sensor. It's the thing that lets the jet find targets, map the ground, and fight beyond visual range before anyone else sees it coming. It isn't an accessory. It's most of what makes a 5th-generation fighter a 5th-generation fighter. A stealth jet without a radar is a very expensive way to fly from point A to point B, and to see how big a deal a missing one is, you have to understand how a 5th-generation fighter actually uses its radar. On a 4th-generation jet, the radar is a radar. The pilot reads a radar scope, a separate threat warning display, a separate targeting pod, and stitches them together in his own head. The F-35 doesn't work that way. Its APG-85 radar, its 360-degree infrared distributed aperture system, its nose-mounted targeting sensor, and its Barracuda electronic warfare suite all feed one computer, which fuses them into a single picture on the pilot's display. The radar is the longest-range eye in that picture. And because it's an electronically scanned array, it can search while staying hard to detect, letting the jet, in Lockheed Martin's words, see first. Through a stealthy data link called MADL, one F-35 can even pass that fused picture to the rest of its flight, so the whole formation sees what any single jet sees. So take the radar away, and you haven't just blinded one airplane. You've pulled the primary long-range sensor out of the fusion and out of the network that the entire 5th-generation concept is built around, which is what makes the next part so strange. How does the program responsible for the most advanced fighter in the Western world end up accepting 6 of them, paid for and signed for, with a chunk of metal where that sensor should be? The answer isn't incompetence, and as we'll see, those jets were built around a radar that isn't ready yet. It's a collision of timing hardware and a supply chain that's been quietly buckling for years. 3 different problems the internet keeps mashing into one. Start with the number that set off the alarm. On June 11, 2026, 12 days before that hearing, the Government Accountability Office published its latest review of F-35 sustainment. The headline figure: the fleet's full mission-capable rate had fallen to about 25%, 1 in 4. That means at any given time, 3 out of every 4 F-35s cannot perform all of their assigned missions. The GAO also tracked the broader mission-capable rate, jets that can fly and do at least one mission, and that had slipped from 67% in 2021 to 44% in 2025. For the Air Force's F-35A specifically, the full mission-capable rate sat down around 28%. By the GAO's accounting, these are the worst readiness numbers in the program's history, and they are moving in the wrong direction. For a fleet of more than 1,300 of the most advanced fighters ever built, 1 in 4 can fight is not a statistic the Pentagon wanted on the front page. Here's where most of the coverage goes wrong. When the 25% number and the no radar admission hit in the same week, they fused into one viral story. The F-35 is broken. They're shipping them without radars. It's a disaster. But those are not the same problem. The 6 radarless jets and the 25% readiness rate have almost nothing to do with each other. Different causes, different jets, different fixes. There are actually 3 separate issues tangled together here, and once you pull them apart, the F-35 situation makes a lot more sense. It's still a serious problem, just not the one the headlines are selling. Let's take them one at a time. Problem 1. The 6 radarless Marine jets. These come from the newest production lots, and they were designed around a brand new radar, the Northrop Grumman APG-85, billed as a more capable successor to the current array. To fit it, the jet's nose was redesigned with a new bulkhead, and that new structure can't simply take the old APG-81 instead. So when the new radar schedule slipped, its first production lot isn't expected until around 2028. The Marine Corps faced a choice: refuse the jets and let them stack up at the factory, or accept the airframes now, fly them for training with ballast in the nose, and install the new radar later once it's ready. They chose to take delivery and wait. In other words, these 6 jets aren't radarless because something broke. They're radarless because the Marines deliberately accepted incomplete aircraft rather than stall the line, betting on a better radar down the road. It's a real problem, but it's a planning and timing problem, not a sign the assembly line is coming apart. Problem 2 is a completely different set of jets and a completely different cause. For the last few years, Lockheed has been rolling out a major upgrade called Technology Refresh 3, TR3, new processors, new displays, the computing backbone for the F-35's future weapons. The hardware shipped, the software didn't keep up. Beginning in 2023, the government stopped accepting TR3 jets because the software wasn't ready, and more than 100 piled up at Fort Worth. Deliveries only restarted in 2024 when Lockheed shipped a deliberately stripped-down, truncated version of the software, enough to fly and train, but not to fight. And here is the key fact: the Pentagon's own testing office, DOT&E, put in writing. As of the end of fiscal 2025, not a single combat-capable TR3 F-35 had been delivered to U.S. forces. Now this matters. Those TR3 jets have working radars. Their problem is software, not hardware. Calling them jets without radars is simply wrong. 2 different stories, 2 different jets, constantly mislabeled as one. Which brings us to problem 3, and this is the big one, the one that actually produces that 25% number. The F-35 doesn't fly enough because it can't be kept fit to fly. The GAO's report lays out why. The entire support system, the spare parts, the depots, the supply contracts, was designed for a fleet of 700 to 800 jets. There are now more than 1,300, and the support system never scaled up with them. The GAO identified dozens of parts, by one count 48 of them, that the supplier base simply cannot build fast enough to meet demand. Some are basic. The program has struggled to produce enough canopies. On top of that, corrosion problems are working their way through the fleet, and the depots carry a repair backlog they can't burn down. The result is a fleet that spends too much of its life waiting for a part, for a repair slot, for a canopy, not grounded by one dramatic failure, but slowly starved of the unglamorous things that keep airplanes flying. None of this is cheap to fix. The Joint Program Office has put forward a sustainment overhaul it calls the Global Support Solution Reset, and the price tag is steep by the GAO's accounting, about $13.7 billion more than previously planned through 2031, much of it to buy the spare parts the fleet has been starved of and to rely less on the contractor. General Masiello's own framing at the hearing was telling. He described a program that, in his words, has outgrown its support system, a fleet that got big faster than the machine built to maintain it could keep up. That's a candid admission. It's also a warning. Readiness problems this structural don't turn around in a quarter. And the GAO's own outlook is blunt. The F-35's availability is likely to get worse before the reset money works through and it gets better. It would be easy to stop there and call the F-35 a failure. The record doesn't support that. In 2025, the program delivered 191 new jets, a record year. The APG-85 radar that grounded those 6 Marine airframes is a genuine capability upgrade, not just a delay. Allied air forces around the world are still buying the F-35, not walking away from it. And the man running the program called it, without irony, a cornerstone of American air power, a jet that, when it flies, remains the most capable fighter most of its adversaries will ever face. The problem isn't that the F-35 can't fight. It's that too few of them are ready to, too much of the time, and that the system built to support them was never sized for the force that now exists. That is an accountability problem and a money problem. It is not, despite the headlines, proof that the jet itself is broken. So where does that leave us with a hard, honest picture? America has built more than 1,300 of the most advanced fighters on Earth, and on any given day, only about 1 in 4 is fully ready to fight. 6 of the newest sit on a Marine ramp with ballast where their radar should be, waiting on a piece of the future that hasn't arrived yet. Hundreds more flew off the line able to train, but not to go to war. None of these problems are the same problem, and that's exactly why none of them are easy to fix. The hearing on June 23rd didn't hand anyone a villain. It handed us a number, an admission, and a $14 billion bet that the most expensive weapons program in history can still be made to work. Whether that bet pays off is the question the next few years will answer.